Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down. So, back on Valentine's Day, it's pandemic, so couldn't spend it with my girlfriend. We talked and kind of did like a quick exchange or whatever, but most of the night I was chilling at home. I was looking for something to watch, and this is a movie that I knew was coming out like in and around like for Valentine's Day, and it features two actors that I really, really dig in Zendaya and John David Washington. And it's shot in black and white. And I was like, artsy, these two actors, I'm in. And I threw it on and I dug it quite a bit. I love, as you know, any movie that allows actors to just really show off. And these two crush this movie. So why don't you pull up a chair? Take a seat. We are getting ready to dive in spoiler free into Malcolm and Marie. And what an interesting movie to watch on Valentine's Day. Because it's a love story, for sure. But it's like watching an entire relationship play out in like 2 hours real time. This movie really takes some big swings, and it feels like the kind of big swings where like you're either gonna ride with it or you're not gonna ride with it. The one thing that I think that's undeniable about the film is the two performances. Zendaya and John David Washington are beyond phenomenal in this movie, and we will get to them. But I want to talk about Sam Levinson. This is a guy whose name I've heard for a while. He did Assassination Nation, which I didn't get a chance to see, but I remember like it was on my list back in 2018, like of I needed to get to. And then he did Euphoria with Zendaya in 2019, a show that initially I was like, I don't need to be here for this. And then I heard really, really good things, and that was now also on my to-do list. And this guy was like, I'm interested in stuff he's done. Well, now I'm going to get to see something that he's done. And after seeing this, I'm way more interested to go back and watch these other things that he's done, because I like what Sam Levinson's doing here. This is a movie about a couple. And John David Washington is a writer-director. He's just had a premiere of his biggest movie to date, and it's like the first movie that looks like it's going to be critically acclaimed. Everybody seems to love it. He's having the night of his life. They're coming back from, the after movie, like after the premiere party. It's late. It's probably got to be somewhere in like the 12 to 1 o'clock in the morning range. And they show up, and John David Washington is just ready to celebrate his ass off because this is the greatest day of his life. And Zendaya is totally there to, give him the things that he wants, but you can tell as soon as she walks in the door that like something's bothering her. And that's the best way to set this thing up, because that's one of those situations that I think anybody that's been in a relationship knows. Either way, guy or girl, you'll have something, and sometimes it'll be small or, maybe blown out of proportion or correctly blown out of proportion, even if it is a small thing. And it'll just kind of eat at you, and you're like, you maybe even to yourself, be like, it's a small thing, just let it be. But it festers, and then you kind of get into it. And you have one of these bits that can kind of be up and down, where like you're in a full-blown fight, then maybe you make up, then maybe someone says something stupid in the middle of the makeup, and you're back into a fight. And this is, just the type of stuff that happens in a relationship. We get all of this in the course of 2 hours, and it's just these two, just in this house. And I love the way that Levinson starts to get to the answer of what it is that's bothering Zendaya. And in doing so, we literally learn about their entire relationship. And it's one of those things where like the way in which Levinson approaches it and goes after finding out what the real truth is to what's bothering Zendaya's character, Marie, is something that feels very real. Like, feels like the type of way you would get to that in real life. And it's very artsy. I'll say that. This is like, living art almost to a degree. I mean, the way it's shot, I love the black and white. Levinson uses the black and white to his advantage, where he puts the camera, the way he plays with shadows. It really works from a visual standpoint to deliver this movie in this way. And the other reason that I like taking that kind of artistic approach is that he has a kind of stage play, almost Shakespearean style to the script. The way the two talk to each other and the way that they have these long monologues, it feels like a two-person show on a stage. And it works because of the setting, being in this house and the way Levinson moves us in and out of the house. The house is kind of open concept. It's got big glass window walls, and the way he's able to move us in and out, and being late at night, you got some like mist coming off the grass and stuff. Like, it just looks gorgeous. And then you're giving these two a script that just allows them to act their asses off, and they are so freaking good. And if you can kind of get in to the pendulum swing, that is very drastic. Like, they go back and forth. And the other thing too that I love is the way Levinson kind of looks at the perspectives. We were talking about that with Pieces of a Woman, and how you kind of shift, from, you start to see some of the other character perspectives, even though you have your main character. Here, a lot easier. You just got two people, and you're just shifting between their two perspectives. And sometimes you're totally with John David, and sometimes you're totally with Zendaya. And then sometimes you're like, Zendaya, you were crazy, really, really crazy. And then other times you're like, John David, you're not as crazy as she is, but you push the buttons when you shouldn't. You know what I mean? And it's drastic. Like, they are big swings. But it fuels the performances, and the performances are where this movie thrives, because these two are phenomenal. Like I said, Zendaya, wonderful. Like, her body language, and just expressions in the way that she talks or answers or responds to things, you can tell there's more going on than what she is letting on. And I love the way that she swings. And she swings to the places where, like, you're in a crazy that's, like, scary sometimes. And, like, this movie makes sure you hits all of the emotions, man. There are moments where you're, like, a little scared of what might happen, just based on her history, where this character comes from, and the way that, when they're swinging, the drastic swings. Like, she is crazy. And I love watching it, because even when she's crazy, it's the type of situation where, like, even when she's doing that, like, she is super sexy. And, like, just everything. Not just, like, the way that she looks, but the way she carries herself, the way that she argues, or the way that she, like, uses her crazy. Like, it's one of those things where you can totally understand why John David Washington hasn't dropped her, because it's the type of thing that kind of magnetly pulls you in. And what's cool is you get the same thing on John David Washington's side. It's not so much the crazy, but the ego and the work. The writing is his life, and you can see how that could get on someone's nerves, but same thing. He's electric. He's magnetic. You just want to be in on what he's got going on. And performance-wise from him, he's great. You know me. I love John David Washington. Dude, we are so fortunate that my favorite actor on the planet had a son that could be my favorite actor, in the planet when Denzel's not acting. He's so good. And it's funny, because I've said this, and had this conversation with my mom. When you watch John David Washington on screen, you don't always necessarily know that he's Denzel's son. Every once in a while, he might say something where you're like, oh, okay, like, I can hear it. Like, you can hear the relation in the way that they talk. But he's very much his own person, in his delivery. He gets those acting chops, because he's around one of the best, and he's really, very polarizing, grabs your attention when he's on screen. But this movie, I don't know if it's just because he yells a lot, like constantly yelling at Marie across the house. They're kind of like out in the middle of nowhere. I don't know if it's just the yelling, but this movie is the most Denzel sounding I've ever heard John David Washington. You hear a lot of Denzel in there. Like, I was sitting there, I was like, I probably see where he's getting the inspiration for some of these moments. But there are these moments where he, like, the first time I've ever really seen him, like, kick into, like, a Denzel kind of a mode. And I was about it, because it worked for the performance. And while he is, same thing, like, so has the ups and he has the downs. I mean, this movie is emotional. The quiet, intimate, emotional moments with them are just as powerful and just as good as the big, loud moments. But John David Washington gets maybe one of the best rants I have ever seen in a movie in my entire life. There is a journalist for the LA Times who he references several times earlier in the movie. That journalist posts a review. Mild spoiler. Like I said, everybody loved the movie, so the review is good. But the review is talking about things that John David Washington talks about earlier in the film that he thinks would happen that would rub him the wrong way. So he goes on an absolute tirade about the way that like journalists can take a creative art and like bend it to be what they want it to be, and not go after what it is and just take the easy roads. And he goes on, it's gotta be 5 to 7 8 minutes long, and he is just going. And that's not odd in this movie. Like I said, you just got two characters and both of them have very long monologues throughout the whole film and crush every single one of them. But this rant was my favorite thing in the movie, and John David just pours everything into it to the point that when it ends, the character collapses on the couch, like on the top of the couch, and Zendaya is laying on the couch, and he sounds exhausted. And I think he really was exhausted because he just so much energy into it, and it's so enjoyable to watch. And that's the thing that really makes this movie work, is like as the script pulls you into the story and like trying to figure out what actually is the issue that started all of this in the course of the night. And the way that you can feel for both of these and characters and roll tears for each one of them in different moments and be angry at each one of them in different moments. It just pulls you in a way where you just get to watch these two people take this really solid script and deliver it in a way that's big and loud, and just, like I said, it's kind of got a stage play presence, but in this format and setting, completely works. And I loved Malcolm and Marie. Like I said, I not maybe the love story you were thinking to watch on Valentine's Day, but it was real. It felt raw. It felt honest. And if you've been in a relationship, you can relate to some of the things that happen. Like I said, this feels like a whole relationship in like a 2-hour real time moment. But just the way they push each other's buttons too, it's just so much fun to watch. And you can tell like they definitely must have had a great time making this movie. So there you go, man. Those are all my thoughts on Malcolm and Marie. It sizzles. It makes you laugh. It makes you cry. Shout outs to Sam Levinson, man. It looks beautiful. The script really works to the advantage of your actors, and your actors just crush, man. Zendaya is, I said it back with Spider-Man. Like, she has such little moments in that first Spider-Man movie, but every time she's on screen, that's what you're paying attention to, because she is the best thing that is happening on screen at all times. And to see her grow into the kind of actor that she's becoming, it's so much fun to watch. And same with John David. Like, this is the future, folks, and it is a future that I am about. So those are all my thoughts. I want to know what you're thinking, man. Did you check out Malcolm and Marie on Valentine's Day? Was it a date night movie for you guys? If you guys watched it with your significant other, how'd that play out? Like I said, I don't think that it would necessarily push anybody into a fight, but like, how did that play depending on your own relationship? And if you didn't watch it as a couple, or you just watched it by yourself or with family, or a friend or whoever, what'd you think, man? What was working? Did this work for you? Did you like the stage play kind of atmosphere that Levinson creates in giving this open kind of concept where you can just kind of constantly move around but never really leave where you're at? Was that working for you? Were the performances working for you? If they weren't, I want to know that too. Anything good, bad, indifferent. If you haven't seen the movie or you're going to check it out, leave all of that down below in the comment section. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the old C-Man all the time, you want to see everything I got to say, man, I watch all the movies. I'm a big comic book nerd. You guys know this. I got my Comic-Con shirt on. I watch all the movies. So if you want to be here for the movies, the TV talk, trailer reactions, if you're a fan of WandaVision, we got 2 weeks left of that, man. I'm all about that. Plenty of content, hours of content for you there if you like that stuff. You want to be here for all that. You want to just show a little love support if you like what I'm doing over at the cinema. Sit down. I urge you, come join C-Maniac Nation by jumping over there, man. Hit the subscribe button. Hit that little bell if you want those alerts. If not, just hope you come back and give it another go, man. Hope we get to talk to you again. But until that time, for the C-Man's Cinema, sit down. I've been the C-Man. I'm signing off. Peace. Well, as I live and breathe, you still here? check out a video like this one or this one, and hit the subscribe button so you can get alerts and check out everything the Seaman's got at the cinema sit down.